All right, I'm recording. And let me share my screen, which I don't know how that's going to work, but we'll find it. Oh, I found it. Good. All right. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to go from the beginning. We're going to go real quick. Okay. So this is our first official WIG meeting, and you guys, we've already kind of gone through how we're setting this up. So I'm going to move pretty quickly, but as we've talked, we are going to focus on a wildly important goal in 2024, but we're already starting because there's activity. So couple things about this. This is where, the narrow focus, 20% of time, it needs to be measurable, unifying. And I know when we last met, what we said was we were going from 20 to 27 during 2024. That's sort of the bottom line. So we are already well ahead. Our traps we've already figured out all these. We know what we're doing. So that's good. We are not, like I mentioned, we don't want to look at only what's important, like number of people enrolled in Transform. That's really important, but that's not like something we can do something about. So, all right. So the second discipline is acting on the lead measures. We're going to work on those a little bit more, but I think we're going to talk about what have we been doing that are things we can actually do. And then we'll talk about what we do next week about that. The big traps about these are just focusing on, tracking lag measures, like really just focusing on what are the activities that have happened. Another trap that can happen when you don't focus on lead measures is that you do something that really doesn't have any leverage for what you're trying to do. I mean, it's an activity, but that's where refining these lead measures. And then you got to change. We talked about this too. This may be a year of quarter one. Okay, now what do we do? Quarter two, just being okay with knowing that if we're not really seeing the effects we want, we're going to do something different. So, and then, okay, so this is the fun part. And we're going to be doing this more in our meeting today about what is the scorecard. But for the WIG, is it simple? Can I see it easily? Can I tell at a glance if we're winning? And, and so I know, Katie, you put together just a pretty basic scorecard. And then I will show you my fun little graphic at the end of a thermometer that we can or can't use. But I'm like, it would be really fun to have something that we're like, it needs to show that we're doing this. And the only the traps is just if we don't go ahead and update it. And so that, Katie, that's what I'm excited about, is that we've worked on this. You've already realized we've got to track stuff, and then we've got to come back to it. And we don't want it too complicated. And so that's also what we've talked about a lot. Okay, and then the forward created cadence of accountability. So that's sort of what we're leading into a mock today. This is really going to be 2024, but since we already have activity towards our big WIG, which is move to strategic partnerships, the cadence of accountability, it's a maybe 10, 15, 20-minute meeting with the team where we each talk about, what did I do last week for this, just for this WIG? Not what did I do about this project, but just what I did this week. What am I going to do next week? And then we encourage each other. If it's not working, it's a really positive, forward-looking meeting, but also provides that accountability for the team members. So it will be week to week, setting a goal, and then did we meet it or not? Did we do it or not? And obviously there's no shame if it didn't happen, it didn't happen. It's just creating that accountability. Obviously there's the things I want to point out, and as we model this today, none of these may happen, but sometimes we get sidelined and we start talking about things that are important, but they're really more part of our project meeting or our weekly, just talking about other parts of the business. That's what they're calling the whirlwind. And then the other thing is, the two things that are really important. You got to set a new goal for the next week, even if it's like, I tried to reach these people. I got, stiff armed. I'm going to try 2 more times, whatever it is. And then, man, I think this is going to be fun, but we got to remember to celebrate and so I'm excited to talk about whatever happened this last week and what are our steps for the next week. And then I'm just going to show you the wig. This is what we talked about. And then we broke this down, and I'll send this to you guys to have this, just so this is what we talked about earlier this week. And again, if it needs to change, it needs to change. But right now, this is what we're looking at based on starting with 20, hopefully in January. And then I'll give you my little, this is my fun project, is that here's where we are. See, we don't have an empty thermometer. That's what's exciting. When I made this, I was like, you know what, this is cool because this looks, and as this grows, maybe it'll be 200 to 270 one year, but we're just leaving it like this. So, all right. So first of all, any questions? I know we've talked a lot about this, but I just wanted to run us through the sort of framework again, and then I'll kind of like lead this like a practice meeting. So do you guys have any questions or any comments?
No, it's great.
Any surprises or anything you're like, wait, what is she talking about?
Nope, yeah,
okay, good. I think we beat this. I don't like that phrase, but we've definitely gone over it multiple times. So okay, all right. So tell me what happened this last week. And I know we didn't. This is our first real like kind of mock meeting of this, but tell me some things, movement that happened last week, and then each of you. I can't wait because you said you have something great to share, and then I want to hear. Let's set 2 or 3 things that each of you can do in the following week that are just basic commitments towards this. And I'll try to make sure we stay on it. And then Katie, this is sort of like, if I'm not leading the meeting and you end up being the one, you're going to be like, hey, that is great, but we're talking about that in the project meeting. So, all right, go. Who wants to go first?
I can start it, Katie, and then you can talk about so for Young Lives, we started talking in the RevGen meeting about fee for service being our 3rd biggest right now, but how it could be bigger. And we need to start with this year of wildly important goal of strategic partnerships, thinking about a pricing structure. So we talked about how we would do that. Katie, you can remind me who did what on the pricing structure this week before we got the email from them.
I put together the detailed list of like what they actually get, so that Beverly could then take that and figure out what an appropriate price would be approximately.
So we were already on it, and then their HR person sent us an email saying, when can we have these 3 things? The list or the detailed description that Katie just mentioned. So that's great. She's got it done. Something else I forgot. And then what's your fee structure? So we were like, great. Right? Because we were worried. Oh, we're not just on our timeline. Now we got to be responsive to their timeline. So it did get bumped up in priority.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, that's a great. I mean, so imagine if last week we'd had a meeting, right? And it was like, well, we're going to do RevGen. We're started to talk about pricing because we're going to need that. And so coming into this week, and Katie, is there anything else that you can think of that we're kind of, because they're accomplishments. I mean, you've got now a fee structure. You have the description.
We don't have a fee structure. Okay. Sorry. We have the description.
We have created the assignment to accomplish the fee structure.
Okay.
All of which is going to be part of a proposal that I think I put a to-do date for next Friday on, but I'd have to look again. So
perfect. So is Beverly the one doing the pricing piece?
Yes.
Okay. That's great. Who's going to review that then? Who's going to make the final decision?
Create a plan for that. We've never done this before. So this is a great example of, to accomplish our WIG next year, we will need a streamlined plan for this. So it's a great test for us to figure out what's that to look like. And we need to decide, do we need some counsel, outside counsel? Because I don't know that any of us have an idea of what the fee structure should be.
So let's put that on the side about a question. I mean, that's probably a good, if you're going to be working on this week, then, I think that's maybe a good goal for next week, is determining, do we need outside counsel? And so maybe that if the due date for the proposal that is not, we won't have it all completely ready, but is Friday, then also I think having, you know, maybe Angie, you can think about that as something you're going to determine if outside counsel is needed. You know, and that could be asking around other people that have, maybe
Yep.
calling up RevGen, because they're really interested in helping nonprofits build something that gives them sustainable income.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so let's talk about then, okay, those are, we're going to celebrate that we didn't even have a WIG meeting.
Yes.
Didn't have any assignments, and we actually had action. So this is so exciting. And just out of curiosity, Katie, I know you kind of came in a little later, but as we're talking about this, does this make sense then why you would have this one meeting that's about
Yeah.
this?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And then the project itself might need to be discussed in another meeting, but like the structure here is like, if we're going to have strategic partnerships, one thing to move us along towards that is we actually have a fee structure. Great. That's wonderful. Okay. So next week, what can you guys think of would be commitments that each of you could do in your sort of purview? And I can role play as if I am, I mean, I'll just say if I'm the integrator, like if I was your full-on integrator, I think what I would probably select is working on this fee structure, like doing the research with Angie, you know, and that would be a key like decision-making leadership role type thing. I would want to really dig into that. So that would, I'd probably present some options. I would say that would, so I will just say that would be mine. I'm committing to doing research and presenting some options like structured curriculums, other organizations, how they structure it. So let's now realistically, what would you want to commit to? We can make it real or pretend.
Realistically, I'm still building it, so it's getting really close to being completely built, but they want to start in early January. Well, not early January, I think late January. So it's almost there, but there are several pieces that but I should be by the end of next week finished with building it.
Oh,
And it'll be
great.
ready to be reviewed.
So
Yep.
so your commitment would be to hopefully by the end of next week have the infrastructure built so that this partner could actually use the tool.
Yeah.
That's great. Building the tool. That's amazing. That's great.
She's done great. And she's waiting for me. So my commitment is to get her what she needs in a timely manner. Some decisions to finish it out.
Okay. Are there any follow-ups with other strategic partners that you want to add to the list for next week? Because this is one.
No, this is gonna, well, there, I mean, I'm meeting with Chris from Avail.
Okay.
So the idea is to find out each other's strategic plans for scaling so that we can be smart about, we have a long family foundation dual grant proposal, but hopefully that's just one of several that we could accomplish next year. So that's a step toward really exploring Avail and what that looks like.
Right.
Partner.
And you're considering them a current strategic partner.
They're part of the Both And network. Yes, they're in Equip. They are unique of all our partners because they have national programs, and we've talked, like it's been on the table about lots of crossover, trying to scale together.
Yeah.
We provide one piece of it, they provide another, and really even to funders offering that as a package deal. But we need to know what we're suggesting to funders. So that's why we've never really sat down for 90 minutes and said, lay out your strategic plan.
That's
to
perfect.
me. That's what we're
That's
doing.
perfect. And so that will give the two, because that is, and I think that's a great example of a lead measure. Like you can have a meeting and you can basically you're collaborating with a current strategic partner about other strategic partnerships.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and funding, which is our number one goal.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. That's awesome.
That was the main impetus, is this grant in January and then another partner that we could pitch something to. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. So if there were, other team members that are not on here, we'll finish this. What would you want to assign to them to move this along?
So I wrote down some outside counsel, so we'd have to decide who would approach the outside counsel. Some of those are my connections. So one is Chris, one is Praxis. Those would be my connections, but you mentioned RevGen, which is great. That wouldn't have to be me. And if there's anybody else, so if we could divide that up among the team to get it done quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Do you, so that would be then, if everybody was sitting here, we'd be like, who takes this or who takes that? So you just need to take that and assign it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And then you already said that Beverly has the assignment of getting it all mapped out, like whatever by Friday next week, right?
Yeah, she should be finishing a basic proposal with that fee structure in it. And then getting a MOU put together after that.
Is she just determining that she doesn't know that, is she going to do the research for the fee structure, or she?
What was
Angie, that's a great question. She just was the only one who was confident that she could put it together. So we gave it to her. I don't know if she intends to do research, or I'm not sure how she's going to go about it.
Yeah, we could be, that's an action that we could be more clear and say, hey, just to clarify, you're putting together a skeleton template proposal based on your knowledge. There's other research happening about the fee structure.
I think that would be wise, and say, but bring to the table whatever you know and have knowledge of about fee structures, because I mean, you might as well look at all the options. But yes, I think making sure she's clear on what she's supposed to be doing versus, because if she thinks she's actually having to determine that fee structure, that might take more time research. She may be spinning her wheels researching that, and knowing that what you really want from her is the finished proposal, and you just plug in the numbers. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think that's enough for 1 week in this area, because we got the rest of the business to run, which is partly, we got a little bit over in there where you were talking about grants, but we didn't talk too long. So, but all right, I'm going to stop recording. So